Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today for this short video where I would like to talk about a topic that it is not often discussed, drugs in the microbiome. Why do I want to talk about drugs? Because there is a trend in the increase of the number of drugs, whether prescription or OTC, that Americans, and not only Americans, take on a daily basis. These are a few documents I found on the internet, recent documents describing how there is such an increase in the consumption of drugs. We know the drugs, they do affect the microbiome, and for example, I think everybody knows that antibiotics, as good as they are to fight microbial infections, they are also highly detrimental for the microbiome because, of course, they are designed to kill bacteria, but they reduce the overall microbial diversity in our microbiome, mostly in our gut microbiome, but not only there. And this might lead to long-term dysbiosis. Many examples of antibiotics, this is just one of the most common I found. So I think everybody knows this, that antibiotics, when you take antibiotics, you also have to take something to protect your gut flora. I remember when I was young, this means almost 50 or 60 years ago, we had to take a product that in Italy was called enterogermina, which means like germs for the enteric tract, something like that, beneficial microbes that helped counteracting the harm made by the antibiotics. So this is something that had been known for a very, very long time. What maybe is not known equally well is that a lot of drugs, very common drugs that are used on a daily basis by millions of people, they also affect in a detrimental way the microbiome. Proton pump inhibitors, those that are used to reduce the stomach acid, they change the pH in the entire GI tract, and these leads to some profound effects on the microbiome. Bacteria, they move where they should not be, and this leads to dysbiosis. That is an incorrect balance between good and bad bacteria in our gut and in, I would say, all our organs and systems. What about the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, those that we take when we have a headache or we have a fever? Extremely common, OTC, aspirin, naproxen, ibuprofen. So these are some of the most common drugs that you can find at every drugstore. In many countries like the US, you don't need a prescription to take them, in Italy as well, as far as I know, and they disrupt the mucosal barrier. They cause a great damage to the microbiome because they alter the balance of the beneficial bacteria. Metformin is a common medication for diabetes and induces a shift in the balance of the microbiome. Statins, many people, they take statins to counteract high cholesterol, but also these drugs, again, very common, very used in all parts of the world, they are associated with a distinct microbial signature which contributes to the side effects of the medication. So these things are very well known, and some of the side effects of statins are known to be due to their detrimental effect on the microbiome. Antidepressant like selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, they exhibit antimicrobial activity, kind of antibiotics, and this leads to suppressed growth of beneficial gut microbes. Here the B in beneficial is missing. My fault, I apologize. And laxatives, when they're used too frequently or improperly, they can lead to prolonged disruption in microbial composition and therefore in immune function. So we see that it is not only antibiotics. I would say most of the drugs that are consumed on a daily basis, they cause harm to the microbiome. Now, many papers, many scientific articles have been written on this topic. This one is entitled Microbes and Medicines, Interrelationship between Pharmaceuticals and the Gut Microbiome. Again, most articles, they focus on the gut microbiome, but it is not only the gut where we have the microbiome. We have microbiome in our brains, in our skin, in our airways, everywhere. So all these drugs, they do affect primarily, but not uniquely, the gut microbiome. And this leads to a disruption of a number of functions, first and foremost, the immune function. So what do these drugs do? They do a number of things. Of course, there are different molecules, they have different mechanism of action. But if we wanted to stay simple, if we wanted to summarize, what they do is to disrupt the biodiversity. They decrease the biodiversity, they disrupt the balance. And here is where Bravo could come to help. Why Bravo? Why not a common probiotic or a common mixture of pre, pro, and postbiotics? Well, you know that Bravo has a pre, pro, and postbiotics. So we have already discussed this in other talks, it is written in papers. But here I wanted to highlight the incredible, unique biodiversity of Bravo. A few years ago, we asked one of the major lab analyses in the world, Eurofins it is called, to analyze the number of strains in Bravo. Those who have followed me for the past 11, 12 years know that at the beginning we thought that we had a number of strains and we were talking about 42 strains because we were not looking at them, we were not looking at the microbes from the molecular point of view. Eurofins runs a very sophisticated DNA analysis test that can check every single family, subfamily, sub-subfamily, and they ended up with 4 pages like this one. These are only the first 2 pages of the microbiome report from Eurofins. And of course, I cannot read all of them. It would take hours and hours and would be extremely boring. But this is just to give you an idea of the incredible biodiversity of Bravo. And by the way, all this has been published in peer-reviewed journals. So if you're really curious, if you want to bore yourself to death by reading all the strains that they are published, but this is just to give you a visual idea of how many, close to 400. And then the number is not precise because it depends whether you consider the phages as proper strains or not, the plasmids as proper strains or not. But the point is that Bravo is absolutely unique as far as its biodiversity is concerned. And I have discussed in the past that Bravo also has a detoxifying properties. Why are they important? Because, if you take some drug, evidently there is a reason for it. But once the drug has done its job, it is best if it is eliminated as fast as possible. And in particular, if the metabolites of the drug, you don't want them in your body. You want the drug to exert its action and then it's gone. You want it gone as fast as possible. And Bravo, thanks to its detoxifying properties, does exactly this. And again, we have published this. Everything I'm saying has been published in peer-reviewed journal. So if you take a drug, and if you have reasons to take a drug, and these that I've mentioned are the most common drugs that are sold in every drugstore, I would say all over the world, then your microbiome most likely is affected in a negative way. And Bravo can truly help. It can help better than any other probiotic because not only it has pre, pro, and postbiotics, but because of its absolutely unique biodiversity. Well, I hope that I've been able to convey the message. Sometimes I use AI because I hope that AI can help clarify the message. Today I decided to speak by myself, with my accent, with my errors, but today I felt this way. Thank you so much for listening.